Welcome to the Recommended Daily Value Podcast, your daily dose into the health and wellness world.
Welcome back to the Recommended Daily Value Podcast, where we dive into everything health, fitness, and nutrition related 5 days a week in 5 minutes or less. This podcast is brought to you by Umzu, and I'm your host, Tyler Woodward. Today, we're back with another episode of Real Superfoods, with the superfood of the week being yogurt. But before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. So, one of the main facets of the repeat or bioenergetic approach, or the thermo diet, whatever you want to call it, is that it's a high-carb diet. With as in Christopher Walker's recommendations, coming in at about 50 to 55% carbs, and if I had to guess, Ray would probably have a similar recommendation, if not higher. From the outside, this may not seem too bad. Load up on some potatoes, rice, sourdough, lots of fruit, maybe a smoothie. But one of the realizations that I've had personally is that it's a lot harder in practice than it is in theory. Outside of fruit, a lot of the staple bioenergetic foods are relatively high in fat, including things like beef, eggs, milk, cheese, ice cream, shellfish, etc. Plus, if you're like me, you tend to add fat to a lot of things, both for cooking and for added flavor. So it's eggs with ghee, potatoes with butter, white fish with olive oil. Point being, in my experience, it can actually be quite difficult to actually maintain a high-carb diet unless you're just slamming fruit and smoothies. Which brings us back to yogurt. Yogurt may seem like it's all fat, but it's really not. One serving of cream top yogurt, which is whole milk yogurt containing all the fat, contains 7 grams of fat. Meanwhile, a single egg is about 5 grams of fat. So personally, I'm going to eat about 2 servings of yogurt or 4 eggs on a normal day. This ends up being either 14 grams of fat from yogurt or 20 grams of fat from eggs. But when you take into account that no sane person eats just plain eggs, so you're probably adding in some cheese or butter toast and whatever fat you use to cook the eggs. Realistically, we're probably looking at something closer to 25 grams of fat from eggs, which is almost twice as much fat as I would consume from the yogurt. Plus, you can get really high quality, low fat yogurts that contain anywhere from 1.5 to 5 grams of fat, having the amount of calories and fat you're eating overall. Yogurt also serves as a great base for fruit. Recently, I've been adding in a combination of fresh blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, and blackberries, with some extra honey for sweetness, a dash of vanilla for flavor, and some bee pollen in there for all the nutrients that are in bee pollen. Sometimes I even throw in some extra collagen to get some high-quality protein added in. But in general, if you're not aware, yogurt is just a very high-quality food. It's about 80% casein and 20% whey, just like milk, so it contains both fast-digesting and slow-digesting proteins. This likely helps to keep you satiated for longer and also probably helps to keep muscle protein synthesis elevated for longer due to the influx of protein. So if you're trying to gain muscle, that can be very beneficial. And one study found that yogurt was a very high-quality protein in terms of muscle growth overall. Casein consumption has also been associated with lower blood pressure and increased absorption of calcium and phosphorus. Yogurt, or dairy in general, are also great sources of calcium, zinc, retinol, vitamin A, certain B vitamins, and some magnesium and potassium. So overall, it's very nutrient dense. And as a bonus, yogurt may have higher quantities of certain B vitamins like B12 and B2 compared to milk, depending on the type of bacteria that's used to make the yogurt. And depending on the type of yogurt you get, it may contain natural probiotics, as the bacteria are an essential part of the production process of yogurt. And the probiotics within fermented dairy products have been repeatedly associated with a ton of health benefits, including reduced risk of breast cancer and colorectal cancer, type 2 diabetes, improved weight maintenance, improved cardiovascular, bone, and GI health. Now, it's important to remember that these are all associations, so it doesn't inherently mean that yogurt has a causal effect in these cases. Just the people who ate yogurt were more likely to exhibit these traits. And this really only applies if you can digest yogurt and specifically lactose well, as if you cannot, you may actually benefit from removing dairy from your diet entirely, or working on removing other difficult to digest foods and slowly phasing dairy in to allow yourself to digest it better. Well, that's it for this episode, so remember to get some yogurt in. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button and to share with a friend. Remember, these opinions are my own, based on my own research and experiences, and it's not medical advice. Till next time, be good.